already 11 attendees on the call. It is 1 minute past 10 by my time here, Lagos, Nigeria. So good morning, everyone. Wherever you are, any part of the world, good morning from Lagos, Nigeria. We want to thank you for joining today's webinar, which is titled How to Build a Crisis Resilient Business Model. We will start with a prayer, and then we will go into the proceedings of today. Mark, if you can just pray for us as we open the meeting. Over to you, Mark.
Okay, let's pray. Father, Lord, we give you praise this morning for the opportunity to be in your presence this morning. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for making today a reality. Your word says this is the day you've made, and we rejoice and we're glad in it. Father, we are thanking you in advance for this master class. We are thanking you because we know at the end you will have a cause to glorify your name. We are thanking you for our training. We are thanking you for people that are still joining, Father, we call them forth to join in the name of Jesus. At the end of the day, the essence of this training, this master class will actualize. I will add value to our word, and at the end, we have cause to glorify your name. In Jesus' majesty name, we have prayed.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much, Mark. So good morning one more time, everyone. My name is Theo Wale Onodeko. I serve in the Elevation Church Enterprise Development Unit. We call it TECED. TECED is a ministry initiative of the Elevation Church to resource and support micro, small, medium, and large enterprises. We do that via 5 interventions, or if you like, pillars. We do business incubation, we do business training, and that's why you are here today, business training. We do skill acquisition, we do access to finance, and number 5, we do business mentoring, where people can interact, you have access to information, leading to access to market and all of that. And that is how we resource and we support micro, small, medium, and large enterprises in tech. Today is focused on business training. We have a moderator who is going to moderate the session, and we have a facilitator. My job is just to introduce the moderator, introduce the program, introduce the moderator, who will introduce the facilitator, and then at the end of the session, which everything should be within 1 hour, 30 minutes, it should be done by 11:30 or earlier. Then I'll come back and I will close the meeting. Without much ado, I'm going to hand you over to MykeOSEH, who is our moderator for today. MykeOSEH is a music lover. He graduated from, just give me 1 minute. He graduated from the Polytechnic Ibadan in music technology. He holds a diploma certificate in business management from Ghana Business School. He's married. He's a certified interior decorator. He's a member of the Young African Leadership Initiative Network, the initiative of President Obama Foundation. And Mark is the managing director, Stonewall Interior. They are into window blind, curtain, bedsheet, and duvet. Ladies and gentlemen, make welcome MykeOSEH. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wale. Thank you for the privilege to moderate this event. And I trust God that God is going to help us in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Okay, quick one. Our speaker for today is a big shot and a big phenomenon in the society. His name is Mike. And I'll just read a little profile of him. Mike is has about 20 years experience in professional experience. The last 15 years he has spent in the midstream and downstream natural gas industry. at the management level. His role has been including operation and project management, as well as strategic formulation and execution. And now he focused on opportunity identification. And as an energy business professional, his career goal is to promote and position natural gas, diverting and dominate global commodity and lower carbon energy source, and helping organizations, countries, especially Nigerian region, with a such resource to develop their natural gas industry as a catalyst of sustainable transformation. His passion is bordered on people development, life and business coaching, technology application, motivational speaker, and natural gas. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's make welcome our speaker for today, MykeOSEH. Please, can we just go to the chat room and just show him some love and welcome him in today's, as he takes over the stage. Over to you, Mr. Mike.
Okay, so thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, in a church setting like that, I typically do the one sentence version of it.
Okay.
So thank you for having me, and thank you, thank you, Wale. And by the way, if you are there in the audience, please help me appreciate Wale is our guy at the top.
That's right.
At TECED. He oversees all of this. So thank you all, and we'll go pretty quickly. I don't have too much slides, probably 10 slides. The intention is to make today very interactive. I'm hoping that Mark has some powers to be able to enable people to say something or mute them or allow them to say stuff. It is a master class, so decidedly it will be interactive. It will be practical. And suffice it to say, we've had a session on crisis resilient business in the past. And I think if you go to the web link they're going to share with you at some point, you can find most of those resources. But the focus of this today is to help businesses that are already operating and entrepreneurs with, let's just say, the how to, so that you can keep your business afloat. All of the prognosis is that another crisis will come, and the crisis may not be a pandemic. And as you are eventually going to see, there's a lot of crises that a business goes through that may not be related to a pandemic. Yeah, but the intention is to harden your business such that you become tempered. You know, when you talk about tempered glass, it's glass that has been done in a way that it can't break easily. So that's the crisis resilience bit of it. I usually like to start my session with entrepreneurs with this very, very, I would say, very old, almost like a poem, but it's called the Entrepreneur's Creed. And I usually like to make them chant it. I imagine that, Mark, you are asking people to tell us which sector they are from, and how old their businesses are, so that we get a sense for who's here. Yeah.
Okay.
So I usually like to say this is our own mantra. This is the mantra for entrepreneurs, small business, medium size, micro, or if you are in any, or if you work in organizations where you help determine the direction of that business. It's my favorite. If you ever feel down any day and you feel like you feel like packing it up, this is a mantra to go to. Yeah. I adapted it just so you know that the original, doesn't always read this way. So if you go with me, I would say we chant it together. And it typically says, I choose not to be a common man or woman. It is my right to be uncommon if I can. I seek opportunity, not security. That I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and dulled by having the state look after me. I want to take the calculated risk to dream and to build, to plan, and to succeed. He says, I refuse to live from hand to mouth. I prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed existence. That the thrill of fulfillment in achievement to the stale calm of utopia. That I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. That I will not cower before any master or bend to any threat. It is my heritage to stand erect and unafraid, to think and act for myself and enjoy the benefits of my creation, and to face the world boldly and say, this I have done with the help of God. That is our entrepreneur's creed, and I'm hoping that you chanted alongside with me. As I said, say that to yourself, look yourself in the mirror, and then to get your own inspiration, to know what you're out for. But for today, we want to dig into this subject of resilience, and I would like to start with some stories. I'll probably give one, and then I would take volunteers from the audience. Mark would help us coordinate that for people that would just tell us a little bit about their resilience story. And then we can get into, excuse me, we can get into all the other things that you know, we need to talk about. What does crisis feel like, you know, or look like for a small business, or a medium-sized business, or even a large business, if you will? And we would attempt to paint the profile of a crisis-proof business. Of course, you know it's an ideal. It's an ideal that, like they say, shoot for the stars. If you miss it, you will land on the moon. So it will be an ideal profile that I would attempt to paint of businesses that are preparing themselves, you know, to handle and to manage and to thrive, you know, in a crisis. And then we will talk about what it takes. You know, for today, I will try to stay away from all the buzzwords that consultants have temptation to throw around. Yeah, so we can talk, you know, very freely, and you know, every once in a while, I'll let you, you know, say something about your experience in the chat room, and Mark would relate that to us. And so, the first point here is exactly what is resilience, just so that we're all on the same page. I promise you, this will be the only time that you would hear me talk about, you know, things from Harvard, Ivy League schools, or you know, global consulting firm. This will be the only time, so trust me. But I thought, you know, there are some things that will give us some very useful definitions. That it is a company's capacity to absorb stress and recover critical functionality and thrive in an environment that has been altered. And as I said, you need to look beyond the pandemic. We're talking about COVID, but beyond that, as you would eventually see, there's a lot of crises that a business can deal with and does deal with. I will not read all of them because you're going to get this slide, I believe. So, Mark, please confirm that the participants are going to get the slides.
Yeah, all participants will get this slide on their email immediately after this training.
Okay, so very good, very good. Okay, so it is the resilience we are talking about is resilience that goes beyond you, because every business lives in an ecosystem. And so some of the things we're going to talk about is that you need to be looking into that ecosystem, because if it is disrupted, even if you think you are okay, you would have some issues. It also deals with unknown, things that are changing, unpredictable, improbable. People typically say, obviously, COVID is a black swan. Nobody knows it's going to come. Nobody knows how long it will be. Nobody knows the impact. But there are also many crises that a business will go through. But the general story is that they are about the unknown, things you don't know, things that make you change, make you adapt. And McKinsey says that there are 6 dimensions to it, that obviously we don't have time to talk about all of them, but you must be thinking of resilience in all of these dimensions. And Mark, please tell me if you think, if you are hearing me clearly, or if there's any problem with my audio or video.
No, your video is okay and we can hear you clearly.
The first one is financial resilience. You must think about that. There's operational resilience. Can you operate with some measure of resilience, you know, in the face of crisis? There's technological resilience. When we stress test the technology you are deploying, what do we get? Organizational resilience. Internally, how you are put together, your staff, your systems, your processes. Reputational resilience. How are you viewed from the outside? And then there's business model resilience. If we put it under pressure, will it stand? Will it stay? If we put it into a different context, if we take it from Nigeria and put it into places where things are done properly, will it stand? You know, as I said, that we're not digging deep into that today. And so I want to start with a story, real life stories of resilience, you know, drawn from my executive coaching and mentoring. And as much as possible, I would anonymize, you know, because I haven't got clearance, you know, from them before this session. But I can tell you that the first thing to say is that not all businesses fail, you know, when they go through crisis. It's part of the reason why we are here today, to let you know that it is possible to organize your business, to arrange your business, to run your business in a way that it can be crisis resistant. It doesn't mean that you can prevent the crisis, but you'll be resilient, you know, in the midst of it. And some of them actually thrive. There's this bunch of guys, one American and the other Nigerian, you know, that started something around the pharmacy, I think 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And obviously, you know that because they are a startup, you know, they had a lot of heat, you know, demand was down and many things, you know, went wrong. Yeah. And because they are a startup, they had a very unique solution, tech-driven, you know, and is one of the portfolio companies in a venture capital, you know, for startups that I'm involved with, you know. And they went back in and drew on a lot of some of the things we are going to talk about today. And you know, they started thinking of many different ways, you know, to diversify their revenue streams. And they came up with technology platforms to aggregate, you know, smaller pharmacies, you know, thought of different ways to go directly to the manufacturers and cut away all the middlemen and take care of all the fake drugs and all of that. And innovated in very many different ways that I can keep you here for the next you know, 1 hour to just tell you, you know, what they've done almost through the pandemic, you know. And today they are in this same Nigeria, you know. They are one of the people that small businesses that have started that, you know, they're almost grossing $1 million a month in sales. That's equivalent in Naira since they are here. And they are doing very well. And they've deployed a lot of technology. They've deployed human capital. They've pivoted. They've looked at their supply chain. They have thought through, you know, their cash burn. They have done a lot of the things that we're going to talk about. I'm very proud, you know, to say that, you know, they are doing well. Yeah. And those stories, you can essentially say they may be isolated, but don't forget that, like somebody say, it is impossible until somebody does it. Somebody broke the speed barrier. Before then, he thought it was impossible. Somebody ran a sprint, you know, in less than you know, 4 or 5 seconds, and then after that, everyone started doing that. You know, so that is the story that I would like, you know, I'd like to share. And Mark, I don't know if you can, relate with our audience. If anybody has a resilience story that they want to share with us, and essentially, we'll just take volunteers, 1 or 2, perhaps a small business, a medium business, just how you have navigated a crisis. Again, look beyond. It doesn't have to be how you came through COVID. If that's your story, that's fine, But story of resilience, essentially, just a quick overview. Before 2020, what was your business? How was it doing and all of that? And then how did COVID or any other crisis that you may have, that you are going to talk about, how did it affect you as an entrepreneur? How did it affect your business? And then just tell us, what have you done? How have you survived? How have you thrived? How have you made it to November 2021, where we are here today talking about it? So I'll just pause and Mark, I hope you get a volunteer or 2 and you can unmute them. If possible, let them put on their video to just talk to us. It's a masterclass, so we would like this to be,
interactive.
Very interactive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mike. I don't know if anybody has any story to share in regards to the resilience story for the business. And like he said, it's a masterclass and it's going to be interactive. So if you have anything to share with us, you can kindly raise your hand on the chat room so I can unmute you. So you can just share the story to us now. So I don't know if I have anyone that would like to share a story to us this morning. We have about 25, 29 people participating. So it's just a brief story, less than 2 minutes, how you're able to be relentless in spite of the challenges, and so that people can also learn from the resistance. So I don't know.
And I'm imagining that feeling that Wale, please be preparing to tell us something. I think you would have a lot. Okay. But please, ask our audience. And
yeah, I was also going to say that while our audience, I think we are maybe they are warming up. Okay. A bit of being shy, because I haven't seen anybody raise their hand now. Maybe people are warming up. Let me quickly share one very quickly. So there's one portfolio company within so I have a private investment vehicle, and then we do venture seed investment. But there's a particular one that we invested in a truck to do cement. So it's a 30 tons capacity, truck, 10 tires, I think so, 10 or 12. And at some point, the business began to nosedive, and we realized that if we don't do something about it, we will lose the capital, we will lose the assets, and that business will shut down. We pivoted, and what did we do? We looked, so it used to have the flat back, it doesn't have that container, it's a flat back. And that's basically for cement. So they will load 600 bags of cement, put the wrapper around it, tie it, and go and deliver. But when we realized that, Dangote bought how many trucks? I don't know. Everything just crashed. And it became obvious that if we don't do something, this business will nosedive. So what we did was we changed the bucket at the back. Instead of being a flat bucket, we bought a container bucket. And then instead of allowing it to be that same 12 tires, we kind of shrunk the truck. It became like I think right now is using 6 tires. And
I see.
Imagine that it's 6 tires now, but we pivoted into just general goods. So agricultural goods, anything that you can load on it. And that business is thriving because we pivoted. We didn't get stuck with it's only cement we bought it for, it must continue to be cement. So that's one way that I would like to share. And I hope one of our participants has warmed up to be able to share theirs. We don't have to
Good. Very well. Well done. Well done. Thank you, Wale. That was a very good one. Very good one. Stories of resilience in the midst of crisis.
So, Mike, maybe you can continue. If somebody raises their hand, maybe you can relate.
Oh, okay. I thought you said somebody raised their hand. I can go on.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. And thank you for that. And so we want to look at, give me a second. We want to look at, you know, what does crisis feel like for businesses? What does crisis look like internally first, and then we'll look at external. As I said, it's not only COVID. Your business can get into panic mode and actually crisis when you are not making enough sales to break even and cash is running out. And I'll talk a little bit about cash. Your liquidity is generally challenged. It may be a profitable business, you know, and the costs are escalating because of the crisis, because that's typically one of the things that crisis does. Like in the case of Wale, for instance, that truck is a fixed cost. So if you don't find something to use it for, it's a fixed cost. You know, if you borrowed money to buy it, that you would have to pay. So costs will continue to escalate, you know, because of the crisis. And sometimes staff agitating because of low morale, either things are not going well or, you know, there is just some internal squabbles. Debts and payables are mounting. You can't pay, you can't meet your obligations, and you know your vendors and your service providers, you are falling behind. There's conflict among execs that you focus on driving the business, but there's a lot of internal conflict and squabbles. And by the way, you must know that sometimes this internal conflict that brought down a business that has a good market share, that had, you know, something going for them on the outside. It could also be that internally they are falling behind in their tech adoption. You know, either the leaders or the organization itself is resisting, you know, adopting, you know, technology and go. You can imagine how some people struggled with even remote work, you know, and just imagining how would half of my staff not show up? How will I not see them? But are they not? Would they not be playing if they are not here? Or the current strategy is now irrelevant? Maybe a new entrant got into the market and your strategy is demolished, or things have changed so much that the way you are doing things is no longer tenable, or just the entrepreneur is tired, he's scared, it's on the verge of giving up, he thinks this thing is not working, he's thinking of some way to get out, some exit strategy, some way to just throw in the towel. Externally as well, there are also signs of crisis, you know, that you can look at. The customers that you are depending on, they too themselves, they are in distress. They too themselves are going through the same thing you are going through. You have regulators externally, you know, mounting sanctions because either you are not meeting your obligation or you are not doing your reporting, or something is just not working well, or the competition is intense. It's a red ocean. It's a dog eat dog. It's a shark infested waters out there. Your supply chain is broken, like typically what happened during the pandemic. People that depended on China, you know, that every few weeks or every few months something would arrive, and they were doing just in time, and everything was smooth. All of that was disrupted. The supply chain was broken because people that are in your supply chain are also suffering. Or their entire sector is being eroded. There's something new, you know, coming into the market that is eroded the entire sector. Or there's a regulation that was passed. You know, if you live in Lagos, you know, when government woke up and said, and you know, the people running, you know, bike businesses, you know, they are no longer allowed. An entire sector shut down or eroded. Or there's just a fight for quality talent. Yours is the crisis you are going through. You can't just find the right people. I mean, there's a lot of cry that people are looking for job. In your own case, you are looking for quality talent, and there's war for it. I talked about government policies. I talked about, you know, it could also be a dominant player that is stifling small businesses, or banks, creditors, and other kinds of players are just uncooperative. This is the profile. These are the different kinds of things that can constitute crisis, that give you a flavor of crisis in a small business. And the smaller the business is, the more pronounced some of these are. For big businesses, some of them can weather, you know, what we are talking about here. And so in your own business, before I even go in there, if you can go into the chat room, what are the kind of crises in your business that you've seen? Can you just type one or two? What has constituted crisis you have had to deal with that either threaten the continuity of your business, or as an entrepreneur, you know, got you tired and scared, you know? Mark, if you can help us, you know, monitor the chat room.
Okay.
And read out one or two that people are talking about. What have you seen? Either something internal, something external that you are dealing with. I would like you to just share with us, you know.
Okay.
In what way have you? Yeah, please.
Okay. The first one I have is said not enough sales to break even. So,
Very
love
good.
for love said not enough sales to break even.
Okay.
But Chris said low morale due to lack of salary increase. That is low morale. People are not well encouraged because of lack of salary increase.
Yeah, they come in different ways. Even some of the things that we can't list here, obviously, this is just a sample of the different ways that you know, crisis can feel.
Somebody also said family pressure, where members of the spouse family does not believe in your business. And another person said having one main client contributing about 80% of revenue.
Yes.
Now person said
concentration risk.
Somebody also said competitive regain. Mr. Emmanuel said internal debt and payable monitoring, cash running out, external, customer also in distress, flight for quality talent, intense.
Yes. We feel you.
Yeah, like for me also, I would say demands very high from clients. Demands are very, very high. Like one of the things you're talking about, the resilience, like one of the things COVID have done. Like now I have supplier in Turkey, I have supplier in Korea, I have in China. But due to the crisis we are having, sometimes you place an order, it's not coming in at the due time. Now we don't have the opportunity. Yeah, so there's no opportunity of traveling because they're not even issuing any visa. So it's really affecting the customer demand. Sometimes a client will tell you within 1 week, and you have looked at what you have, and you are not even, it's not really getting to. So it's really affecting businesses as well.
Wow.
Okay, somebody is saying something on the chat room. Let me just say fluctuating government policies. Fluctuating government policies. Abdullah said change in technology. Somebody also said COVID-19 government policies.
Okay.
Mr. Abdullah said price war. Price war is on that challenge. Yeah.
That's your red ocean right there. So thank you all for sharing your how this feels, you know, for your business. Thank you. The good thing that also has shown is that you are not alone. Just so you know, even if you thought that this was just you, just hearing from other people, you know you are not alone. And it's part of the reason that we hold these sessions, you know, to huddle and you know.
Mr. Mike, somebody said something that is catchy. He said business expansion without adequate budgeting. Business expansion without adequate budgeting.
Yeah.
Mr.
So that's
Yes.
Cash running out to even meet your demand. Please go on, Mr. Olalekon.
Yeah, he said demands varies. He said the demands are varies. You know, they are in different forms.
He's looking for stability, but you know, they come in and out. Wow, thank you. Okay, so having looked at that, how it feels, how it looks like, you know, how crisis looks like and feels, I thought it was important to paint ideal picture, and obviously by the time I get through it, you would know that there's no single business that is able to do all of this. But like the quote I gave, he says, shoot for the stars. Even if you miss the stars, you will land on the moon, and you will still be far away from where you started from. And so that is the ideal that I want to paint here. And internally, and again, I want to make it internal, and then I'll talk about some external. How things feel like, you know, when your business is really, really, you know, crisis proof, you know, crisis ready, and you are ready to take on the world, you are ready to take on anything. It's one of those times that you say, bring it on. You pray for peace, but you are well prepared for war or bad outcomes, unpalatable outcomes that you don't see. You know, you plan for long-term growth, but you act to achieve short-term profitability. That's how that's what makes you crisis ready. There is a visceral focus on cash flow, because if you run out of cash, you run out of blood. It does not matter how profitable your business is. It doesn't matter how much market share you have. It doesn't matter your competitive placement. If you run out of cash, you run out of life. And hence they say cash is king, profit is an opinion. And so businesses that are prepared. Yeah, Wale, did you want to say something?
Okay, somebody said something. I'm thinking how we can balance it. He said a customer wants a high quality product with a low budget. So like an entrepreneur in this particular case, how do you now manage it? When customer wants a high quality of product with a low budget. So how do you balance that situation? I don't know.
So what I would say is that I want to quickly run through this. Please keep that. That's a very powerful question that we will start with. I just want to run through the few slides that I have, and then obviously we'll have plenty time for this question. But that's a good question to ask, because when we talk about crisis creates opportunities as well. You know, when you have more demand than you can meet, or customers are asking for more than they are ready for, at least you have something on the table to talk about. It's actually an opportunity if you turn it on its head. But let me just go through this. So a crisis resilient business, you know, not only do you focus on visceral focus on cash flow, you know it on a daily basis, on almost a hourly basis, depending on the type of business that you run, what's coming in, what's going out. Because if you run out of cash, you run out of blood. All functions are involved in creating and servicing customers or innovating new offerings. I think it was Peter Drucker who said that the purpose of a business is to create a customer. If you forgot that, then you lost track of what the destination is. All functions, and you would have to remember that all functions should be involved in that. Is the reason everybody must know what does the customer want, or what should we be, how should we be servicing the customers, whether it's the finance, the IT people, the marketing people, the operations people, and everyone must be focused on what does it take us to create, what does it take us to service. You will be crisis proofing your business. You're also strategic, but you're agile. Strategic means that you plan, you think ahead, you look at all the scenarios, but you're also agile. You are ready to do things. Sometimes you have not finished planning, but you know enough to take the next step. That is agility. Yeah, you know enough to take the next step. And then in project management, there's something we call progressive elaboration. It means that you don't have all the answers. You don't have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, but you know enough to take the next few steps. You are agile. Yeah. As I said, it's the patient dog stuff today. Plan like a blue chip, but execute like a startup. Yeah. Keep your business and contractual commitments, or if they are hard, renegotiate them, because everything is negotiable. Yeah. Even if you start out like, I mean, sometimes people put a gun to your head and you negotiate your way out of it. I mean, but don't try it at home. And then These kinds of business, they focus on stakeholders, not just the shareholders. And of course, you know, that's the big buzzword now when you talk about business sustainability and the triple bottom line of profit, planet, and people. You focus on stakeholders because there is more than just your shareholders. There's your employees. There's your impacted host community. There is all kinds of people that are associated with your business. Because that focus on all of that, you can almost see when something is changing in that ecosystem that will give you a sense for how you should go. A crisis resilient business find the very best people they can afford, and they take care of their top talent. They don't play with people. They don't go throwing people around. You take care of them, because in a crisis, you need everybody that you can get, every good head, every good mind, every loyal staff or loyal employee. You need them in a crisis. These kinds of organizations, they embrace and invest in technology because it enables them to scale, because crisis also creates opportunity. You're servicing 1,000 customers, you can have a crisis hit, all of a sudden you have 5,000 available to you, either because a competitor shut down or something else happened that just opened a door you didn't even know can open. Technology gives you the opportunity to scale, you know, if you have properly implemented them and invested in them ahead of time. For instance, it was only when we got into the pandemic, some people got their first video conferencing facility, you know, and all of that. But you should start investing in those things ahead of time, because they also inject resilience. Diversify across, this is the important one. If you can, as much as possible, these types of businesses, they diversify across customer groups, across geographies, across different offerings, and across currencies. And even if you haven't, again, this is an ideal picture I'm painting here. You must have something that you are starting to think about, you know, of how you can start injecting some of these. This is internal. Let me go through the external. You can add your own. Let me go through the external, and I'll take feedback and some comments, you know, from the participants. Your external interfaces for a business that is crisis proof, that is crisis resilient, that is prepared for it. Yeah, you are very familiar with who regulates your sector or your business. What regulations are they? You respect the taxman, like they say, only debt and tax is certain. You respect the taxman, because somebody did say, I think it was a few weeks ago, I was listening to something, and he said some of the baddest, I mean, forgive my ebonics, some of the baddest drug kingpins that went to jail, not the ones that were killed, like these other kinds of people. The ones that went to jail, it took the taxman to be able to pull together enough evidence to take them to jail, not CIA, not DEA, not any of those people. So respect the taxman, but be familiar with your regulator. It should not be the day they are coming to shut down your business that you know, okay, so these people exist. You know your competitors with reference, with vis-a-vis your own competitive edge, so you can defend and sharpen them. That's how to be crisis resilient. You are acutely aware of why do customers choose you. You are acutely aware. You have asked them. You have found out. You have done everything you can, because it will help you to refine your CX strategy, your customer experience strategy. You stay in touch with your creditor. It's not in a crisis that you start building those relationships. You stay in touch with them, and whoever is owing you, you chase them down. You intensely follow up so that you can get the cash in, as we said earlier. You keep abreast of developments in your macro environment. You're not sticking your head in the sand and hoping that, no, I'm big and bad, nothing can happen to me. You know, Nokia was like that. You know, it's not going to happen. Kodak was like that. It's not going to happen. Blockbuster was like that. You know, they had opportunity to invest in or buy Netflix. You know, don't stick your head in the sand. You know, you must constantly be scanning. There must be somebody in your team, somebody somewhere that that is looking at what's happening in your environment and the implication for your business, and limit your own personal exposure. Because if you yourself as the entrepreneur, if you're at risk, it doesn't make you crisis resilient. If you can, use a limited liability structure so that if anything happens to your business, you don't go down with your business as in your own personal capacity. And obviously, file your reports and just be proper. The next one is very important as well. You need to figure out your ecosystem partners, your crisis response. In a crisis, who would you call? Who are the people you have developed, relationship with? Can you simulate that crisis and check how resilient they are? Yeah. Who are your ecosystem partners? The bankers, people that can quickly, advance you overdraft. People that can quickly give you, a supply, some credit. And then you have that mutual arrangement, where it's a give and take. There's something you are doing for them, and you are oiling that ecosystem, in times of peace. Let's just put it that way. The important thing is you set up an external emergency fund. Your business should not go down just because you run out of cash that is coming in. You must have a way. Like I just talked about OD. It could be something else. In your own personal, because I'm also talking to entrepreneurs and people that are getting into all of this. Your personal and your business, have something that gives you the comfort that bad as a bad, however it is, you can weather the next 6 months, the next 1 year, the next 2 years, or depending on the kind of business that you run. Get your house in order, because as the clock works, government typically comes up with something. Most responsible government, as a matter of fact, most government try to do that, whether they are responsible or not, because there's just that social pressure. Donor agencies will give the government money to be able to do that. Government will make available cheap fund in a crisis. I'm sure you know about the CBN, a fund for SMEs, all of that. But you must keep your house in order. It's not during that we will now be finding out that your books are not in order. You don't have a proper accounting system. You are not filing reports. You are not up to date in your tax. And you are in that crisis, and government is saying, bring all of these things in order to access a 5% fund. That is how to be prepared for crisis. Join a trades body that amplify the advocacy for your sector. Don't say they are just noise makers. Well, that noise does get attention when it matters. And the last thing I want to talk about is that nurture your supply chain. Test them for the capability to pivot. Test them for resilience, and diversify them if you can. And my last thing, again, because I'm also speaking to entrepreneurs, they must be connected to an external support system. You must have a mentor you can talk to. You must have a group like this, where entrepreneurs talk to each other. Find somebody that is going in your direction, so that you are not alone, and you can share notes and have a support system, so that when everything is falling apart around you, there is a safe haven. Derek Padula says, make your ideal your new real. Again, there's no single business that is this ready. But this is to paint a good picture of what you can start to think about. And so again, Mark, if you don't mind, maybe we can go into the chat room. Which of them resonates with people? Or do you want to add something? Which of them, between the internal ideas and the external interfaces, which of them resonates with you? Which of them can you immediately take from here and go and start doing something about, or thinking about, or tell your team to say, I think we are not doing this enough. We are not getting ready for crisis. We're not getting ready for it. And obviously, there's always a business boom and bust. So it is coming. It's as predictable as I said, debt and tax. So Mark, I yield the floor to you. See what you can get.
Say something. Yeah, Chris said everything.
Oh, somebody said everything?
Yes.
Okay. I would really like, what else are you doing now? Is there anything here that resonates with what you're already doing that, that is keeping you somewhat ready, even though there are gaps you are starting to see, you know. Or is there somebody that can raise their hand just to share a quick experience with us of how some of these has really helped them? Maybe you can unmute them. I would like somebody to say something this time, not just type. If you can type, by all means, but see if somebody raised their hands for them to say something. I see Sani Galadima Abdullahi is raising his hand. If you can allow him to say something, which of these internal ideas and external interfaces resonate with him? Mark, can you help him? Hello, Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wale,
Yeah,
do you want to?
So
okay,
you want Galadima to speak, right?
Yeah, he raised his hand and I wanted somebody to unmute him so that he can say something.
Sani Galadima, you can go ahead and speak.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Sani.
Good morning.
First and foremost, I want to commend the team that put up this together. It's something of joy to note that back in our own country, we are beginning to think in this manner. You know, virtual training as into having some selected individual who has a great idea about this and put them together to share them freely. In those days in Africa context, we hide all this kind of knowledge. That's why we don't grow. So I must commend you tremendously. Almighty God continue to be your strength. However, I'm a pharmacist,
Okay.
and I still work with the government. And looking at my age, I discovered that I need to put up some business, go back to my alma mater to see. By the time I retire, I have something that is really keeping me home. And I'm not business oriented. Okay. I want you to understand that listening to you this morning is fantastic to me because let me just say 75% of all the idea you are sharing, I find myself doing it without reading any book, without having any mentor. So as you are talking, the thing is just blowing my mind that I'm on my track. And by the grace of God, we'll see the best way we can align with you to be our external body to always fall on, or to be our coach at any point in time. Practically, I will not lie. While I was almost graduating, I think I worked with one of a renowned pharmacy in Kaduna State. During around 7 months, I learned some bit of community practice, how to buy, sell, markup, and what have you. And I want to tell you that's the gimmick. That's the beauty of what I'm experiencing now. So within this year, I started to thinking, not from last year, start thinking I want to put up a pharmacy shop to serve like a backup. And it could not really come up until I took a shop around August. I couldn't start it. I was just struggling for almost 6 months. It was just wasting. Finally, I opened March. And because I opened March, and within the first 2 months, I saw the way the whole thing was going. So I opened the second branch.
Very good. Well done.
So while it was going that way, I opened the third branch. And my intention was just to have 3 branches, and then after a very long time, after some time, going to a more better one, like maybe wholesales and what have you. Why do I need to just do this? I'm bringing up my own business model, not reading it from anywhere.
Very good.
Believe so much in it such that, because I work with United Nations, one of the arms of the United Nations, all the coaches, the training and what have you, that we have that we've learned over the time, I was just trying to put them together with my own generic thinking. And this is where we are. Even though we have not broken even. I can tell you I have up to 3 different wholesales that believe so much in us that are ready to give us.
Yeah.
I think what
So,
it can-
Sani, this is a very, very, very inspirational story, and thank you for sharing with us. We really appreciate that, and well done, well done, well done. Yeah, I mean, there are things that are intuitive, you know. I guess you know what sessions like this, you know, do for everyone is to just bring them to the fore, to know that either you are doing it right or there are a few things you need to tweak. So well done, well done.
I need to quickly cut in. I need to quickly cut in, please, sir. I'm not saying everything is perfect, but I know I'm above 50%.
I like it. 50% is good.
You understand? When I'm saying above 50%,
started.
I can sell in each branches and pay the staff. And I still have very minimum, very small amount. You understand? But the major challenges that we are facing is that, you know, in pharmacy business, you need to start your supplier.
So Sani, I think we'll have a lot of time, you know, as soon as I go through my slides, when we get into the open floor, this thing to do it. But I think your story is very inspirational. So if you don't mind, please just hold that, you know, hold that next thought. And then as soon as we finish, you'll get the opportunity to say more, if you don't mind, so that we just get through, you know, the material, and then we'll let the floor be open. Yeah. And so, and that's an inspirational story. And in all honesty, you know, I don't know if you read, there's a book out there that say what they don't teach you in Harvard. You know, there are many things that you know, you can do instinctively, especially people with entrepreneurial streak, that are just okay, you know. But you get into these master classes just to sharpen them, just to become aware of them, because they come from your subconscious into something you consciously know, and you can replicate them, you know, and teach others and help others to achieve. And so, what do you do with all of this? You mark your presence. Yeah. You take a look at some of the crises we've talked about, you know, in our earlier slides, just to review them, like we're trying to do here. But you need to take it back to your team, take it back to your organization, and say, you know, this crisis, which area are we suffering? You know, what are our vulnerable spots? Which are the areas that we are really bleeding? Is it on not enough cash, or customer demand is going low, or there's red ocean that we are in, or what does crisis feel like? What are the ways we have experienced it? And then assess the business impact if they were to crystallize. Or for those that have crystallized, how bad did they hit you? How bad did it go? Because that gives you some idea of what are the things you should do with those. And then we've just talked about the profile of an ideal crisis-proof business. And it will be easy for you to see, okay, no, this one we are not doing, no, there's something we can do about it. So that helps you determine your gaps from that ideal benchmark, because you will then start to see that we're not selling enough, and therefore not breaking even, and we're running into cash flow issues, because like somebody said earlier, we have concentration risk. There's only one or two big customers that are buying from us. So the day they say they don't buy, the day they cannot pay, the day something happens to them, we are in big trouble. You know, that is how you link the vulnerabilities with, you know, the gaps that you have identified to say, okay, that is really what is causing us problem, or what caused us problem in the past. And then that then allows you to shortlist a handful of business imperatives that you need to address. Because I imagine, as I said, because this is a master class, you must be thinking about, okay, from all of these, what should I take and go back and start to address? This assessment of, you know, what does the crisis feel like? And then the ideal profile that we have painted, it must start to give you some idea of the big gaps that you need to go and close. It's not that you can do everything, but some of them are low-hanging fruits that you can start to work on immediately. You can go from here today, go back to your team on Monday and say, these 2 things, or this 1 thing, or these 3 things, we must get on to start addressing to make ourselves crisis resilient, to be ready, you know, for the time that crisis comes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mike. Somebody said something on the chat room. I just want us to quickly look at it because we are having less than 10 minutes to.
I'm not hearing you,
okay,
Mark.
I said somebody said something on the chat room. I would like us to quickly look at it because we have about 12 minutes to the end of this session.
So we have what?
Less than 12 minutes. 12 minutes.
Okay, to get into our question and answer.
Yes, I guess. Yes. So it said.
Okay. Wale, are you hearing Mark? I'm struggling.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Basically, we were trying to just mind time. Just go ahead, Mike. Just be mindful that we need to stop at 11:30. Everything program was shut down at 11:30. So we have.
Okay.
Just time management.
Okay.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. The guy said one of the things that have helped him is connecting with others entrepreneurs at this time.
Okay. Yeah, Mark, from what Wale said, let me just go through. I think I have 2 slides more, and then we'll just open the floor and take the comments and any question and just run out of until Wale offs the mic. Yeah. Okay. So I talked about, you know, what do you do about all of this information? Map your presence, come out with a short list. And what do you do with that short list? Find out those of them that are your critical few. You remember the Pareto? There's only 20% of things that give you the 80% of trouble. So find out what those are, because those are the ones that you need to address. Some of them will be transformational that you need to deal with. Others are incremental, but some are just holes that you need to plug. And then, you know, on the basis of that, you know, you will then plan and execute them. You will need expertise from the outside, you know, but track outcomes. And then stress test, every once in a while, stress test your business model and say, you know, if put all your customers together and say, if we lose 25% of the customers, would we still be in business? Or come up with specific names that if this X, Y, Z, if something were to happen to them, where would we stand? You know, if Nigeria was to devalue maybe another 20%, what would be what would be what would we do? You know, maybe that should drive us to start thinking about some dollar business or or move to some other geographies, or move business to some other geographies. Stress test it and simulate the crisis and monitor your vitals. And you do all of that by evolving a vitals dashboard. As the entrepreneur, you must have the vitals that you are monitoring. You know, they could be your leading and your lagging indicators, but you must start your trip to being crisis resilient. And I'm just giving some of the how-tos, some of the things that you can think about. You can go back to your teams. I mean, if it was a workshop, we'll get into all the details about how you actually do some of this, but it's a master class, you know, to give you the tips. You can walk away from here with something actionable that you can deal with. But while you're at it, I wanted to just bring this to your notice, that you must figure out a way to align your structure, your culture, and your strategy. Again, we're not getting into the details of that, but it's this last part of this slide that I want to, in a way, close with. Because if you don't align these 3 things, this may be some of the results. If you can see the graphic there, that's people that have designed bridges, you know, across the water. They've splitted atom and done calculation and all of that. And by the time the rubber meets the road, what you see there is what they had, the kind of misalignment. That road cannot be driven on. So that's why I gave an example. Your structure is hierarchical and bureaucratic. And yet, internally, the stories we tell ourselves, the culture is that we are pioneers in an agile, open, and upbeat workplace. That's how we see ourselves. That's how we tend to say we are internally. Our strategy is that we innovate, to get first mover advantage and dominate the market. That is what this kind of business is telling themselves. But it should be easy to see that you are not aligning. You are not aligning. You need a structure that allows you to be flexible and adaptable to make decisions very quickly. If you are going to be pioneers, you want to be agile, you want to be open, and you want to innovate, you want to beat the competition to the market, you want to dominate that market, your structure is not speaking to it. So find alignment. And the leader is pivotal. Your influence is pivotal to all of these things that we've talked about. And so in summary, recognize what crisis feels like or mean in your business. You heard some of the other people that talked about it. Track both your leading and lagging indicator that lets you know ahead of time or when they have happened that we're in a crisis or this thing is going bad, this thing is getting worse. Find those benchmarks. From the ideal that we did, come up with your own short list to say, okay, this will be how we'll be knowing whether we are okay or not. Because as I said, those are ideal. You will not be able to do all of them, but you must benchmark your business against it so that you can reveal gaps and distill those gaps into critical business imperatives so that you can address them. And align the critical success factors to make your business resilient. This is my final thoughts. The entrepreneur must provide a strong leadership that models, that demonstrates, both in word and in deed, the adaptability, both in mindset and how you do what you do, that you require for crisis resilience. Because crisis demands change, demands that you adapt or die, innovate or go extinct. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. We will take questions now. We will take all the other comments. And as I said, we will run through it until somebody switches off the mic. Thank you.
Okay, can we just appreciate our speaker once more? It has been an amazing time out with him. And some of these things he has taught and aligned. If we can align it in our business, I know it's going to be impactful.
Mark seems to be fading in and out. Is it just me?
Okay, can everybody hear me? So
okay.
It's question and answer. So if you have a question, you can kindly unmute yourself and ask the question, or go to the chat room and type in your question. So we can take the question. So any questions for our speaker? Any question for our speaker? So anybody with questions so that we can quickly take these questions.
I mean, it can be questions or comments, you know, and some of the things that we wanted to talk about. Maybe you want to start with that first question the person raised. If you can go over it again, the one we said we'll take, you know, for a start.
Okay. The question is, the person said, how can you?
I can't hear Mark. Is it just me?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I can hear you now.
It said, customer wants high quality products with low balance. So now, what the person means is, how can you balance this when the customer wants a high quality product and with low budget? So how can you balance this situation?
Okay. What I'm hearing is that your customer wants a Rolls Royce, and yet he wants to pay for a Toyota. Is that the question?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And I use that example deliberately because the guy that wants the Rolls Royce, the one that can afford the Toyota, they really fundamentally want some primary ability to move around. The freedom that the ability to move around gives you. That's the freedom. It's the freedom they are buying. Yeah. To be able to get into your car at the end of your work day and and go. You're not waiting for a bus. You're not waiting for, so that's primary. Obviously, the guy that buys Ferrari is not just because he wants to move around. In all honesty, he wants more than just moving around. He wants the bragging rights. He wants to paint the town red, you know, and then he wants a fancy, fast car, you know, and all of that, and all the things that go with it. Yeah. But as I said, fundamentally, they want to be able to move around. And so you have to figure out what is this primary need that this customer wants. Again, a customer can tell you what they need, but you have to figure out, or sorry, what they want. Or I want to buy, who knows, I want to buy a car, or I want my children to go to, you know, British International School, you know. But behind all of that is that you want your child to acquire quality education, and in a good environment, in a proper progressive environment. That's what you want. Yeah. So you need to figure out what that need is, because in all honesty, if you don't figure that out, customers can buy things that they don't need. Sometimes only when they get home. And I'm sure, I mean, if you have any shopaholic here, you have bought things that when you go to the house, you are thinking, what did make me buy this thing? Or is it because it was on sale? Or the music they were playing in that supermarket was what got my head? So you need to figure that out, because once you get that, the conversation can be around that. That's how you can help the customer to say, you really want your child to have good education in a safe place. You don't want them bullying your children. You don't want them doing this and all of that. Because once you arrive at that, you can come up with the options and then talk about the pros and cons of each option, including price. Price is not the only thing. I mean, in those days when we did, you know, when we're getting into marketing, it is that you fab them. You don't just talk about the features. You also talk about the advantages, but you stay with the benefits. Some people say features. You know, if you meet a car salesperson, you know, it's the feature he's selling you. He say you can go 0 to 100 in 4 seconds. Those are features. Or a hard leather. Those are features. But you must talk about what does the advantage? What are the advantages? What is the benefit to the customer? And so again, that's what I would say. If you find out what this real need is, the unexpressed need that is driving this person to look for this expensive thing that he cannot afford, you can then come back as the solution provider. You are the entrepreneur, you are the solution person. Yeah, that was what was in our creed. You create solutions, some of them don't exist, and then come back to them with the different grades of options and the pros and cons. This one calls this, but it will do X, Y, Z. This one you can get very quickly. The other one we have to wait for China to open or for something to happen. But this one you can get now. And this one, it can do this for you. This one, I can give you this much guarantee. This one, I can do all of this for you, so that you move the conversation away from, no, it's that one I want. And therefore, and I'm not able to pay for that. Is that Rolls Royce I want, but the money I have is for Toyota. Find out that first, and then you then give them. Even Toyota has some premium aspect. There is Lexus that is made by the same Toyota, you know, and others, you know, that you can bring in front of the customer. But we are solution providers, and the customer must see that you are taking in his need and you are helping to create and providing the options in front of him. That would be my response to that. But Wale is here if you want to say something, or if the person want to say something about that.
Okay, sir. I would like to just say something based on the question that was asked.
Okay.
Like we said, you know, COVID actually opened so many opportunities for business owners and entrepreneurs like us.
Okay.
There's this particular product I sell. It's a motorized curtain.
Is what?
For motorized curtain, like a voice control curtain. Like when you get to your home, you can just say open and your curtains open, you know. And there's this particular place I buy from in France. It's called Doya. The company is called Doya. So because of COVID, and sometimes when you place an order, it takes about 2 months or 1 month before it comes in, I have to look for that alternative of buying on that product. But same thing, but it's a new company, you know. And a customer came and he was like, I want this, but look at the budget I have. So I knew the one for the Doya itself, the price is quite much. So he said, I want another product. I just told the person, okay, I have another product, but not Doya. And I told her that I cannot give you a warranty.
Very good.
Based on they are just new suppliers I just started using. And the man was like, so what warranty can you give? I said, okay, I can give you about 40%, but I can't give you 100%. But basically, I explained to her, you know, but then she now picked the product. Now, like I'm telling you, she has never complained about that product. But from the beginning of the business, I've already explained to her, look, X, Y, Z.
Very
for this
good.
other one you want, this is the cost implication. For this one, this is but there is no warranty on it. It's also good in a business you already know what you sell and you are able to defend yourself on it. So that's when you'll be able to manage customers when it comes to pricing and the budget they have. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Very good. I mean, brilliant example. Again, is to give you the framework here. What he has said is one application of that framework that I just talked about. Is to expand it beyond pricing discussion. You know, yeah. Okay, so let's is this person okay with it? Let's take other questions as we look at our time.
Mike, I want to put somebody on the spot. Sister B. I know she will also have one or two things to share around the topic of today. Okay. Sister B, I'm putting you on the spot. If you will unmute your mic and just speak, I'm sure you can share one or two things. Go ahead, please.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Mike. You have broken it down. We have all heard it. Brother, thank you for putting me on the spot. So, well said. Usually what happens that for a lot of us, even looking at resilience, looking at, we come to a lot of these programs, we need to take away what we need. It's a good time for us to be checking our resilience. A lot of people are planning ahead for the new year. And so there's never a better time. As we have said, we all need to check our business models. What is working, what is not working, what we need to build, where the help comes from. Thank God for this group. There's help available. So please reach out. My suggestion is, Brother Mike, Brother Chio, the whole team is available. Thank you for this kind of initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes, so Bisola, thank you. Appreciate. Okay, so Mark, back to you. Any more questions? Yeah, Mark, I didn't hear what you said.
I said on the chat room, with no question for now. There's no question. Okay.
The person that asked this question, is he okay with it? I'm sure your example and the framework I've talked about, you know, should help, but you know, he needs to say if he's okay with it. Yeah. So let's just get some feedback then. If people don't have questions, if people can raise their hands or just type something in the chat room to say, what are you going to do? What is one or two things you have taken that Monday morning you are getting your team together and say, no, you know, I got something over the weekend we should deal with. I think, you know,
Mike, on a lighter note. On a lighter note. So yeah, when you deliver something of value like this and people don't ask questions, there are at least two options on the table. They love what you have said, it has sunk into their minds, and they are kind of, busy thinking about what is the next step. Monday morning, what am I going to do? So
yes,
I have time
yes.
for your question. That's one.
Okay.
Or
I missed the mark.
you don't want to hear this one.
No, I've said it now.
Is,
I missed the mark.
You just wasted my time. You're just talking over the mark. So we have just about 8 minutes to shut down. So people, let's just give opportunity for one more question, so that Mike will be sure that you really, appreciated, everything I said.
Actually, even if there are no questions, just say one or two things that you are going to do. One or two things that you have picked from the how crisis feels to the ideal profile to what to do with them and how to execute. Just one thing or two that you have picked that come Monday you are going to go and implement.
Okay. This one said something on the charts. He said, "Thank you, Mike, for the knowledge sharing, great value." He said, "Plan like a blue chip, execute like a setup."
Mm.
So I guess that's
very good. Very good.
And execute like a setup.
He's gone quiet.
He said, that is Franklin said, what are the best way to refinance a business that is running down? What is the best way to refinance a business that is running down? That's the question. And Abdullah said something. On my side, I would dwell in analyzing if I lose 25% of my customers, how do I keep my business on track? On my side, how do I dwell in analyzing? The question, how is he going to dwell in analyzing if he lose 25% of his customer? How do I keep my business on track? So we have two questions within this short time. The first question is, what are the best way of refinancing a business that is running down? Probably let's take that one before the Mr. July question. How do the best way of refinancing a business that is running down?
Okay. It just so happened that Wale is on top of that market. I think, and I'll say something about Wale, please. I would like you to jump in so we can do this together. Refinancing, I imagine when you talk about refinancing, is that because you have a loan that you want to refinance, or you need to just raise funds to be able to ensure that your business does not go down? I would just assume, either of them. I think the first thing is to hopefully you understand why your business is going down. Hopefully you understand what is at play from everything we have talked about. What is at play that your business is going down, and perhaps there are some others that are not, or not that impacted, because how you articulate it, how you pull it together for potential people that are going to give you money will be more important than anything else. Yeah. The vanilla answer is that if your business is in trouble, then the person that's going to give you money is already thinking, no, I'm not sure you can pay me. That's why I start from saying, if you have a very good grasp of why the business is going down, is it macro, or is it that sector is being eroded? Some of the things we talked about, what is the reason? Do you know for certain why it is going down? If customers stop buying, do you know why? Or if is a competitor in the market, are you in a red ocean? What is it? You must be acutely aware, because it then puts you in a better position to put your story together. Both story of what brought you here and story of where you are going, because it's that where you are going that you must be selling to your potential financiers to say, raise me money. Even though this business is like this is what I'm going to do. They call it sources and uses. Every financier want to know that. They want to know, if we give you this money, what would you use it for? And what you are using it for, will it bring you to where you should be to put you in a position to be able to pay me? They want to know that. So the story is important. But I can't have a professor here and then I'm still running mouth. So please, Wale, please Say something.
Professor, indeed. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's keep it short. I think I empathize with David on the fact that the business is going through crisis. He said it's almost like they are shutting down and selling assets. And I see that Sister B quickly asked, what kind of assets and liabilities do you have? Look, the point is this. Mike talked about internal resilience and the external resilience. What are the things internally? So, I mean, this might require an offline and really listening from a consulting and listening to you point of view. But what we really want to say in the brevity of time that we have is that if you are going to be selling the asset that is supposed to generate money to bring that business out of the grave situation it is, that is not the right step to take. Let me use an example, a particular business also in our portfolio company is a makeup business. You know how COVID-19 dealt with everybody in that sector. But rather than shut down and sell assets, the advice we give to this business is to scale down. So instead of sitting in that mall where they're paying rent of 1 million every year, can you run this from home and then go to Jumia and be selling more? And that's what the business did. So rather than shut down and sell everything and say, I'm shutting down, they scaled down because that same asset that you are trying to sell might actually be an income generating asset. If you lose it, you lost everything. So we have very brief time. I won't say we will dwell more, but you have our contact, you have everything available. You can send an email, for example, to teched@elevationng.org. and we'll be able to engage more. But we really need to shut down the meeting now. We only have 2 minutes more. I want to use this opportunity to thank Mark for a wonderful moderation. Thank you very much, Mark. If you can give Mark and Mike, an e-clap. Thank you very much for engaging us today and really giving us value. We appreciate it. Mike, thank you very much. As always, you've been a person of value. We thank you for your time today. We thank you for, just dishing it out. We wish we have more time, but we really don't have the time. We need to shut down